flow. And flow for a musician, for a ballet dancer, for an artist painting, for a sculptor, if you are accurate and precise in your work, but there's no flow, there's not a little element of relaxation. So the human anatomy is not all muscles tense like the bodybuilding pose, for instance. Some muscles are tense, some are relaxed. You must be able to balance that so that there's an element of relaxation, an element of flow in there. And if you can't achieve that, in my opinion, the viewer will see a stressed piece of art. Why would they buy that? And I'm not painting to sell, I'm not sculpting to sell. I'm just saying, why would someone want something which looked like a battle scene?
Good morning, Johan. It's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Good morning, Petra. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really feel honored by your invitation.
It's a great pleasure. And where are you based, where the sun is shining so lovely through the window?
Well, we have such nice weather here. I'm in Muizenberg in Cape Town, South Africa. And we are blessed with a beautiful day.
Wonderful. So you have a
sometimes, sometimes they refer to it as Cape of Storms, but you won't say it if you look at it today.
Okay. So you have a lovely view on the ocean.
Yes, yeah, and I have a lovely view here on part of Zandvlei and then a part of the False Bay area.
But Johan, I saw you on Instagram, your lovely artwork, and tell me, how long have you been an artist and been creating?
I've been very fortunate to grow up in a studio. My father was Johan Steyn. He was a well-known batik artist. I grew up in the studio. It was a creative space. He was a bit more than just an artist, but he mainly did batik and a little bit of sculpture. And that, of course, had a tremendous influence on me. So I grew up in an art house, and then later years, after school, we had national service, which we did. I did 2 years of that. And then I joined the South African Mint company as an apprentice in what they call die sinking and engraving. It is a trade where you design coins and medals and you make the models of them but scaled up. And then that is in clay and plaster of Paris. And then it goes through phases. We go up to a polyurethane model, which you put on a reduction machine. And then there's a whole process to make tooling for coins. So
how amazing. Yeah, and now you've opened up a new door for me, because I never thought of it. But yes, coins. It is art, that the artwork on the coins. I've never thought of that.
Well, the coin is technically a sculpture. The coin is nothing else than sculpture. I mean, jewelry is not sculpture.
Yeah.
Jewelry is sculpture. It's a piece of art. People appreciate it. Jewelry is in the higher value metals. Some coins, what they call numismatic coins, and collector coins, they are all in silver. And I mean, everyone in the world knows the Kruger rand.
Yeah.
We used to make Kruger rands. We used to make various series of coins, Natura series. We had all sorts of series that commemorated a lot of things in the vastness of South Africa. I mean, South Africa got such a variety of everything, whether it's birds, plants, animals, antelopes, cats. Everything in South Africa there's so many of it. So that was all commemorated in coins, all to this day. So
how did you? Where was the interest? Was it coincidental that you ended up making coins? Did you study art?
It's a good question. Yeah, what the thing is that at that time I was young. I just came out of national service, And I felt my art gift that I had. I saw it. I thought by myself, it is in national interest.
Mm.
And I was thinking, where in the country can I serve with my gift that will be in national interest? And one of the things that came up was coins or stamps or something where it becomes a public thing. So in a way, also as a sculptor, I call it public art. Because it's in everyone's pockets, it's in everyone's homes. It's that kind of thing that's where my mind went. Now, normally, so when I joined the Mint, I saw a lot of sculptures by for coins by people like Kurt Steinberg and people like that, who in the towards the end of their careers, they as sculptors were asked, "Don't you want to make something for the country?" My world was the other way around. I was basically nobody, and designed coins for numismatic, for collection coins and all that. As a youngster, I'm talking 23, 24 years old, and a bit further on. So that was nice to be a professional sculptor at a young age in a system. The unfortunate thing about it is that you are kind of hidden. You're not a public artist. You're not seen in the public spheres as an artist. Whereas if you go to countries like, say, Germany and Austria, a graviermeister is a very prominent artist and well respected. I was a graviermeister, and in South Africa, it's kind of I won't say it's due to the education, but people don't know what it is, and don't see it necessarily. They don't know where to categorize it or where to put it. So I'm just mentioning this, how things are different in different countries. Because when I finally later started my full-time art career, it was kind of on your CV, they would just want to see where did you study art. But the irony was I grew up in a house with a lifetime coaching by a master artist. And then from there, I went to the Mint and I was exposed to a whole range of master craftsmen for 13 years. So what better education would you want?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you're creating art at the national level, that and international level.
But you're talking about your dad and this influence, and growing up, and you see this every day. So this is part of your life every day. I mean, what better schooling than seeing that?
Yeah, it's a day to day. It's a day you live it. You don't go and get educated. You live it. You eat, sleep, and talk it all the time. So that was that's got a value. So, and that raised the question even today, is it not better to send your child to an artist as an apprentice for 2 or 3 years rather than, I'm not depreciating the value of the formal education. Of course, it's got a value. But I also see a value in living the life with some sort of an artist, whether a sculptor or printer or whoever you're talking about. So, yeah.
But I've spoken recently to a few artists who'd say the same thing, where they are self-taught, and didn't go through formal schooling. And it's like you say, it's not that we dismiss that, but that there has to be also this understanding that it's not less valuable if you learn by doing. If maybe that's your route.
I won't call mine self-taught, and there are, although I don't down anyone who's self-taught, I believe whenever there's passion and interest, there will be progress, because they will find the answers, wherever they're going to look, YouTube or whatever they're going to do to find the answer. But I see an apprenticeship or living in someone's house, also learning, as intense training.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you pick up everything in the background. when you're in university and you learn to paint, you don't learn about people that delivered the painting and never got paid. You don't learn those. You learn it after university. After university, you're going to learn real life.
Mm.
All the real things that happen in life. Whereas when you live with an artist, you learn everything at once. So that's just what I'm practicing.
Yeah.
So, and that has got a value. I'm not saying it's more or less, but it's got a value, and that I'm thankful for.
Mm.
Yeah.
But you said your father did a batik work.
Yes. So my father.
No, yeah.
So my father
is that the batik work behind you? Is that the?
Yeah, that is basically one. This batik has got a very nice story.
Mm.
I can never sell it because he actually started it and I finished. So for me, it's the symbolic handover.
Mm.
So this one is technically not my design, but it's signed by me. And it's the only one like this. And these are Knysna luries from Knysna in South Africa. Yeah, this is indigenous bird. And that's a typical style of my father's. So I'm thankful for that input. But batik is mostly two-dimensional, and the colors in a way sort itself out. I'm saying it is easier to create aesthetic color in batik than it is, say, in oil painting. In oil painting, you need to gauge everything and analyze and get it balanced and get your palette balanced. But with batik, because you go through your colors that you dye, it is as if the colors sort themselves out. They complement each other, kind of automatic. That's if you know what you're doing. Because I say it as if it's nothing, but I forget what I've learned. That's the danger of learning and living something. Is you take it as for granted. Where someone who's showing an interest in batik and learning now, they go through all the struggles with the dyes and the waxes and the materials, it's not so easy. So
you from there. So where did the interest in sculpting start?
The sculpting has always been there. I've been inspired by him, seeing him making a few sculptures, and then he went and the sculpting then, of course, went over into the mint. So in the mint, we did what they call bas relief, bar. I think the pronunciation is bar relief or bas relief. And that to me was sculpting. It was good enough. In my opinion, I think bas relief is actually quite challenging. It is not so easy. Even for a normal sculptor, a normal 3D sculptor, if you give them an assignment for a flat relief work, especially with coins, which is very shallow, it is very difficult. Because if I can say it in a scientific way, your tolerance in your Z height is so fine that you must work very, very accurate. And then, vice versa. If someone was trained in bas relief, and I would always kind of, even in hindsight, want to propose that apprentices that are trying to make coins should do full 3D sculpture first, and then migrate from that over to bas relief. I would say, yes, I had that experience, and it helped me a lot later. So to answer that question in a way, I only much later decided I'm going full-time on sculpting. If I say full-time, 80%. I think 20% of my work is still oil paint, and because it balanced me out. You need to have something to keep you from falling into a groove, because the difference between a groove and a grave is depth. Sometimes need to come out of it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So the painting saved me from ending up in a grave. And to be honest, I'm in love with sculpting. I'm totally addicted to it. But every now and then I need to challenge myself with the challenge of color, because the whole thing with oil painting for me, my most difficult part for myself is the color. Color is still, I think, any artist who's really pushing the limits will tell you that the color is one of the big ones. The composition and all that. It is a big thing, but I think by that time you should have sorted the composition and proportions and things like that. If you studied them properly, the color is the big challenge. The palette. If you don't get your palette right, you've got a problem.
But is it easy for? I mean, what is the most difficult switching the switch that you do from, because it's then when you're on the canvas, it's really two-dimensional, and sculpting is three-dimensional. So how do you make this switch then? Is it easy because you do sculpting to paint, or is it easy because you paint to sculpt? How does that work?
The biggest, I'm gonna, sorry, I've got this tendency to make jokes about everything.
Yeah.
But the biggest switch for me in the studio is to clean up the clay so I can work with the paint, and I did to clean up the paint to work with the clay, because it becomes a madhouse. Yeah. I find I have to add something to explain something, is when I intend to sculpt something seriously, I'll possibly take a big canvas and start to lay out the anatomy of that. Like we haven't gone there, but I do wildlife, humans, and then angels. So I work in nature, this platform, and then the metaphysical or the spiritual world. So my work range over all that. I will possibly start to study something on canvas to assist me later with the sculpture. And what I mean by that is I will work on the scale that I intend to work.
Oh, okay.
And then what I'll do is, I don't want numbers or figures or percentages while I'm sculpting. I simply want to refer with a compass from the painting to the sculpture. I do that a lot, either a drawing or a sculpture or a painting. So there's a dialogue between some of my paintwork and the sculpture, and those canvases actually become live documents. They progress as I progress in life, in my art career, because in the beginning you don't know basic things like the length of the femur or where the femur starts and ends. And then as time goes on, you kind of know it's going from there to there. But by that time, you've painted a lot of things over that. So there's that dialogue happening. And what you might pick up is I'm a bit serious about proportion at this time, because what I found in a lot of sculptures, they suck people in until they see something wrong with the proportion, and it kind of throws them back. I kind of, when I start specifically, I work very hard on proportions and the volumes of the piece. So the volumes must be correct and the proportions must be correct. And whatever happens after that is coming from totally inside or from outside or inside, depending how you look at it. We basically just discussing the early stages of me starting something. But to answer more your question regarding paint and sculpture, I do a lot of studies of the sea, because we are right here at the sea. I do a lot of studies of water, the way water flows, the way the foam in the water flows, the way the waves are, the way the currents go. I do a lot of that live, basically on the beach or on the rocks, painting and trying to see something which you will never be able to grasp. you will never be able to truly understand flow. Okay, but what it gives me, it kind of programs me in a way that when I go back to sculpture, I tend to want to see these lines and foam and the way the water moves. And I've got so much to tell you. When I started the sculpting, I really did a great study of the anatomy, the human anatomy. And we were doing courses. We've got quite a few nice courses here in the Cape where people have a group of 10 or so people and a model, and we start sculpting. And that's wonderful. It's fantastic. But if you approach those sessions with no knowledge of the human body, it's a nightmare because you don't know what, you can't interpret what you see. But when you kind of start to get an understanding of the anatomy, you know what's causing that dent and what's causing that knob there. And the better you understand their shapes, the better, and so forth. The mistake I made is I kind of over-focused on the anatomy part to get it perfect. The problem with that is when you start sculpting, your sculpture looks like an anatomy model. And the mentor we had at the time basically came and he said, Johan, I can clearly see you understand anatomy very well. But in a way, it's like a poem that you wrote with very fancy calligraphy. Even if the poem was good, the words are taken away from the poem. It's the distraction. I said, what do you mean? He says, remember, it's a poem. Flow. And flow for a musician, for a ballet dancer, for an artist painting, for a sculptor, if you are accurate and precise in your work, but there's no flow, there's not a little element of relaxation. So the human anatomy is not all muscles tense like the bodybuilding pose, for instance. Some muscles are tense, some are relaxed. You must be able to balance that so that there's an element of relaxation, an element of flow in there. And if you can't achieve that, in my opinion, the viewer will see a stressed piece of art. Why would they buy that? And I'm not painting to sell, I'm not sculpting to sell. I'm just saying, why would someone want something which looked like a battle scene? You had all your frustration.
Yeah, that is so true.
I'm not saying you're not going to go through frustrations to get there. Make no mistake. You're not going to start sculpting today and have flow. Because if you start sculpting today and you have flow, I'm telling you, it's an amoeba or something very jellyfishy that you made. You need to, it's like a dialogue. You need to balance what is physically hard with what is physically soft. But if you lose the flow, flow also communicates confidence. Look at any athlete. Look at Usain Bolt or someone running at that speed. He looks so relaxed. He looks as if he's doing nothing. The guys competing with him, you can see they're working very hard. There's a very big distinctive difference. So that's what I'm saying. But we're talking now later things in art. But I think if everyone can, like myself, have a note in the studio saying, remember flow. How things go from one muscle to the next. How things go from A to B to B to C. But that connection must be elegant, even if it's not correct. Go look at, I don't want to actually say this, but go look at some of the famous sculptors. Their works are not always that accurate, but the confidence they went, that's what we see, and that's what makes it, wow, it's nice. But it's not accurate. I can point out, I'm not that kind of artist who look for mistakes, but they are seriously wrong in some things, but the confidence is there. That's the flow. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but this
maybe I'm on it because it's a new discovery for me, a new-ish discovery for me. To every time I stand back and I look at the work, I ask myself, is there enough flow? And then I can see where all the dead ends are, all the sucks. The moment you try to put too much detail into an art piece, they're like 1,000 little cul-de-sacs. It's dead ends. They don't go anywhere. They don't lead the eye anywhere. And what you want is at an exhibition or somewhere where people go, is their eyes must just be led from one destination to the next, because that is a journey.
Yeah, but
With no toll gate.
Yeah, but that's the no, but that's the magic that we don't always realize, that you look at something, you cannot pinpoint it, but it's something that the artwork speaks to you, and that could be what you're talking about now. This flow that it makes you feel a certain way, and it's this lovely feeling that you get that makes you want to buy it, or want to own it, or want to see it. That tension is something that is not attractive.
Yes, yeah. Well, we know we're in a time where art is not necessarily attractive. But I say, no matter what you say, well, maybe it's challenges I have for myself. If I look at any sculpture I make, I want you to kind of visualize the moment before and the moment after, unless it was intended to be an absolute static sculpture of someone waiting at the train station, dead still with a book, boom. You want to freeze that moment. But most of the works I do has got to do with motion, someone moving or is about to move or has just moved. If I feel if I can create the image before and after the sculpture, then I feel I've achieved something. This is something because it says more than just that moment.
But now you have you sculpt animals, and like you say, humans, and then angels as well. So
Yes.
talk about let's talk about the animals.
Yes.
Is there specific animals that you prefer, and do you go out into nature and observe them, or how do you get to that point where you start sculpting them?
Okay, so I'm from a lineage of conservationists. So my grandfather was a game ranger in Kruger Park many years ago. My father was, although he was an artist, he was fish breeding, trout. He was a trout breeding expert, and he was also quite involved in the Pretoria Aquarium and the design of it and filter systems and all that. So I come from a lineage of conservationists. So South African fauna, animals, is a big part of us. And being in a country with such a rich nature, animal, wildlife population and spread of species, it is something which I feel it's my country. It's where we are. It's what we do, what we see quite often. So that is partly the reason I'm going into wildlife. What I do is, of course, you can't always get close to, say, a lion or something like that. But I do studies from whatever I can find, and I have a standing, how can I say, opportunity to a post-mortem of a lion, which I'll have to respond to that on a short call to go and have a deeper insight into that, because it's something I want to study and know even better. But yes, I think my interest in wildlife is not specifically just to make wildlife sculptures. Where my interest is the relationship between the wildlife and us as humans. And that is how Minky was born. Minky is a theme, one of the works that I do. And Minky was a girl in my grandfather, who I mentioned, who was a game warden. She was in his imagination. And every time he went on patrols, like for a week or two, and came back home, his children, which was now my father and his sister, they wanted to know, but what did you see, Daddy? And then he would say, no, but he saw Minky coming on the back of a lion. And Minky told all these stories. So Minky on the back of the lion and stories Minky told, I have made sculptures for, and we had Minky and the sunbird. So the theme was Minky and the sunbird.
You give me goosebumps now with this story.
Yeah, it's a nice story. I can tell. I can talk about Minky. Minky is psychologically, I think, the girl I never had, the daughter I never had. So she's my creation in a way. So Minky then came as a theme, and with Art at Africa in the waterfront at the clock tower, we had an agreement and a collaboration. And between Art in Africa and myself, we are really doing what we can to push this Minky story into the world. So our first exhibition was last year, October, 2022. Yeah, 2022. We had an opening about Minky and the sunbird. And the sunbird is a symbol of hope. It's a malachite sunbird, actually. It's a bird that we have in South Africa, beautiful bird. And Minky and the Sunbird series was all about more the Lowveld. It was Minky and the lion, Minky and the pangolin, and then the themes that go with, like Minky and the pangolin. She sits up straight she's crouching and holding the pangolin, and the theme is in the balance. So the theme actually addresses this pangolin's existence, but it's her and the pangolin. And with the rhino, she's comforting a little rhino calf that's just lost his mother. That's a sculpture, and it's called Orphans, because both of them are orphans. No one knew where Minky came from. No one knew who her parents are. She's just a human living in nature, reminding us of things like, you can go from earth warming, global warming, to marine. I'm coming to the marine now, or to pollution, to make us thinking. We must think a bit more about these things. And the problem with the format in which we receive things nowadays is either in a letter or some scientific report or something. It is cold.
Yeah.
But Minky is the one agent who presents the problem to us visually in a way that she's going right into your heart. It's an arrow that goes into your heart, and you look at her with a rhino and you think, you know what, if we're not careful, because you see a child and the child is a female. If you see a child that's a female, that is your hope for the future. If she can bear a child, she can take humanity forward. And if you don't look after her and the rhino, then there's going to be a problem for her and So what we do is we Minky is that agent. Now, once we had that exhibition did exceptionally well. We really did well. Had a lot of support from overseas buyers and local buyers. It went very well. So because it went so well, we decided we're going to now go a bit further. I made a single piece of Minky and the eagle. Minky and the eagle, it's a martial eagle. So what we have in South Africa is a martial eagle. It's our biggest eagle. They take medium-sized impalas easy.
What? Really?
Yeah, the wingspan. Yeah, it's an eagle with a wingspan of 2.7 meters. It's a huge bird. So I made one with Minky on the eagle's back, flying, transitioning or transcending, if you want to call that, from A to B. And then the B in this case is Minky and the starfish, which is a marine theme. I've just finished the clays for that. That is all in at the foundry. So my daily routine is now up and down to the foundry to assist and check with them and make sure everything's going well. And that exhibition is also now 9th December in the waterfront in Cape Town. And that is even a further step into our marine life, pollution, global warming. She's that person where if you look at her, if you see her with those animals, and there's some very nice ones. If you see her with those animals, you're just gonna go like, wow, we better look after the marine life. It's another way of telling us, look after your inheritance, look after what we've got.
But how amazing that you thought of this. It's not just your art that's so amazing, but that you think of these concepts, that you think of these stories, and so this is you're also a storyteller with what you do.
I can't think of a more contemporary topic. I can't think of a more contemporary agent, an image, a child. And, this can go on. I mean, she can eventually go overseas and have ice bears and snow owls, and we can go there. She's so versatile, and she can address so many things. We can go into cultures. We can go into, conflicts. I don't want to mention that, but we can go into conflict as an agent saying, what are you doing? So she's I see her as a reminder, as someone who reminds us, think a bit before you buy a piece of plastic or throw away a piece of plastic, or think a bit before you do this or that, or, that kind of thing. I would, she has not finally shown her value yet. But she will bring it. I always say, I want to mention something. We as humans are so arrogant to think that our thoughts are our own. We never think that we have been chosen and trusted with a thought.
Yeah.
And I think she chose me. I didn't choose. She came and said, make me more visible, bring me more into this world. Because, and that's the way I'm not egocentric to think about, I thought of her or I thought of this. It's not, she came and reminded me. I showed myself to your grandfather. I showed myself to your father. And now I'm showing myself to you. Please, let's take the message. And in that sense, I see myself, that's what I said earlier, I see myself as a messenger, as an artist, but an artist with a message. And that's my only job. I do the message, and the message then, whatever is in the universe that will support that, will support it. Because I do believe it's in the interest of the universe, if I can put it that way.
But this is also just a great example of how art speaks, and sends these messages, and how important art is in our society to change opinion, to speak to people on a different level. Like you say, you can read newspapers and you can read articles about and scientific articles about things, but the moment you present it through art, it touches on a much deeper level than these information sheets do.
Yes. She's the one that actually draw your eye and suck you into it. If you then stand in front of the piece, there can be a little something written about it, and then you can, that will lead you to the next deeper reading, if you hear what I say. But an image, you cannot destroy an image. If an image goes into your mind, it's there. The next time you see something about, if you saw her with a rhino, I'm telling you, even for myself, even to this day, if I saw the rhino, I want to cry. And it's as if I didn't make that piece. That piece happened. And if I see it, I still want to cry. It's the most emotional piece that I think I've ever made. And it's such a reminder. because what you see there is not the killing of the mother rhino. You see the consequence.
Yeah.
You see the need of that orphan that need now to be comforted. And now another species must look after that calf. And how does that impact on the calf's development to be a wild rhino? That kind of thing. So what I'm doing with the art is I'm pointing towards the consequence, not the incident. Because everyone who look at a photo full of blood with an animal, they look away. They don't want to look at it. And that's the end of the communication. That communication ends right there. This, looking at the consequence, there's a longer engagement, there's a realization, there's looking at her, the interaction between her and the calf. And it's aesthetic, it's there, it does draw your eye in. The flow is there, everything is there. It's a lot of flow in that bit. But the flow there is, it flows into emotions, and you really, it really makes you think. And that's art can make you think, or think differently about something, preferably more positive.
And starting conversations about it, because then, like you say, then start thinking, okay, but this is the consequence, and then the conversation has a flow as well, because it's there then that you've seen.
And then the other themes, there are other themes. It's not that, just that. There's a few with the crocodile. Funny enough. With turtles, or terrapins. There's a few other themes also related, and each of them have a deeper meaning. Each of them have a contemporary meaning, which is very much to this day. Hopefully, it's and that. Why I'm saying it like this is, I'm not only looking into wildlife as a subject only to create a wildlife. To me, the subjects always return back to the human. It must come back to you. It's not just an animal there on a table. Even if I make just an animal, it somehow through the theme relates to us back.
But while you are working on these sculptures, your mind has to probably also think. You have to think a lot, and can you see that you also have a change in thought as you are working on it, so that, because if you think of the consequence and you working on that, is your mind going further? You know what I mean? That you also from the initial concept, okay, this is what I'm going to make, but then as you're working, then it goes deeper and deeper into this subject.
Yes. Okay, so what happens, it depends what I make. So if I'm busy with wildlife themes, I feel very grounded. I feel very much here and part of here. As I work, I'm getting more and more appreciative of how wonderful nature is, because you just look at these forms and shapes, and if you have a deeper meaning, and sometimes I do extensive studies on something like the rosettes on a leopard skin is not just simply dots that you put in. I actually do a big study, and I discover things which then again relate to mathematics, fractals, Fibonacci, mathematics. You see it in nature, and I might go there and then come back. So I think there is a lot of intellectual work in my work, but let me first mention the other three, and then I'm going to tell you something funny. Strange. Funny is not the right word. Strange is when I do humans or any human-related work, I really feel it. Yeah, I feel feelings of love.
Really?
Being heartbroken. So you'll hear me talk when I talk about me sculpting. I'll maybe talk more about feelings than what I would talk about mind. and I'll tell you now why. And then when I do angels, I feel like a really higher level creator. I start to have those kind of feelings. Now, what I've noticed is if I switch off the mind, it is as if the work gets better. And what I've done in the beginning, as I said earlier, I studied the anatomy, and okay, now the anatomy is there, and anatomy is now moving towards the back of the mind. And then you come forward with more the emotion and the message, the what you want to. And what I've noticed is the more I switch off my mind, the better the work becomes. And what I'm going to say now might sound a bit crazy, but what I do is in the beginning, okay, I knew all the anatomy and did that. And then what I found was the more I take my mind out of the process, my eyes are telling my hands what to do without my mind. So my hands work, my eyes say fix, and do. Okay, that's coming on. Well, and the less I think, the better it goes, the better the flow gets. And then after a while, I discovered that my eyes are looking at what my hands are doing. And I realized I'm sitting in the back of the auditorium looking at what's going on in the stage.
Wow.
And then the last stage is when you wake up and you look at what happened. And you realize, and you ask yourself the question, but did I do this?
Really?
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
And that is the bubble where I want to be. Because that place is the ultimate place of happiness. You are, no one can hurt you there. You are so protected. And you are so in a happy space that you don't want to come out of there. It is like a drug. And that I have found the door to that, or the door. No, I didn't find the door because that sounds eccentric. The door was shown to me and I went. And I did that without any form of drugs of any sorts. I'm totally positive. And so eventually it became just that I must be present in the studio. I must be present, I must have clay in my hands, and that's all I need to do. And relax. And that's it.
So it's totally letting
go. There's no thinking. There's no intellectual. The intellectual part you can do, as I said earlier, on the canvas. You can battle out the ratios and all those things and measure and paint and get that part done. But that is the draftsman part. When it comes to the building, because remember, your armature helps a lot. Right? Your armature that you make from your drawings or from your paint, that helps a lot with your proportion. But after that, you must switch off, because you cannot in your own do as well as what you can do. Well, I think some psychologists on the video might think this guy need to go for the checkup, but I don't mind. I'm happy.
I love it because because it's totally letting go. So you're just letting go and let the process take over.
Yeah, I can maybe relate to something else. I used to be in archery. I used to be a high-level archery coach. And what we do in archery is, some of those arrows we shoot at 90 meters, and it's no fancy sights of any sorts. There's a sight, but it's not a fancy sight. I'm talking recurve archery. That means Olympic style archery. There are many other forms, which is also good. But what I mean by that is you train and train and train, and at some point you better start trusting. And some of us have been working in studios, and we've gone to so many workshops and so many presentations by top level artists, and we still lack the confidence. And that I want to break, because that was my job as the coach, is I want to break your fears, because you cannot build confidence onto fear as a base. You must get rid of the doubts and the fears, and then find a piece of rock and then build with your confidence and build on your confidence. And I think what happened at some point where you truly believe you have put in enough effort and you've put in enough work, and you've really done it as you think is right, you must start to trust that process and allow the process to run the exercise. And I think that is where you're going to see change. That is where you're going to see, but I didn't expect this. How did this happen? And you get it. I mean, if you're painting, I don't think there's a single painting I've ever made where the painting didn't teach me something. You tried something with a specific color and you thought, yeah, this color is maybe not for this painting, but if I do such and such a painting, I must remember this. And you make a note, and the painting teach you. So I've always been in a position where I was listening to the canvas. What does the canvas tell me? We are always so one-directional. You know what's the definition of one-directional communication? What is it the definition of? It's called intimidation. Intimidation is one-directional communication. What I'm saying is allow the art to communicate back to you. Don't just enforce, and start to trust the process. And I think that, again, going back to the previous topic of flow, the moment you start to relax a little bit, it's a little bit more flow. You can't. Everything is not a battle in life. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I know it feels like that for artists, especially when they work hard and they must think about tax and all those kind of things. It's a battle, but if it comes to performing the art, if you have invested a lot of time and energy and money into what you're doing, I'm talking now to other artists. I'm trying to motivate other artists here. Is if you've really done your best, just go once and sit in front of the canvas and just relax and just trust. Just go a bit more relaxed and see what happens. I mean, you can always paint over it again.
Yeah.
I know it costs money to paint, but that was my attitude from the beginning. Is I can always paint again. I can always paint over it. It's not a train smash. Don't be so hard on yourself. Trust the process. If it didn't work, don't whip yourself, because it's a process. It's not you.
Yeah. And it's
See
like
it
you
like
said,
that.
yeah, and like you said, you learn from everything, and if we can see it like that this was a learning curve, or this was something that I learned something about.
Yeah.
But now, Johan, you, if I just listen to you, I just think, here you are proving really that science, maths, and art is so interlinked, and so it's so much together. How do you see this as, in say, for instance, in education? Shouldn't we also, focus more on art in schools and in the education system?
Yeah.
Because, like you say, you communicate through art, but using science and maths through that as well.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to answer your question with a question, and that is, we as humans went and categorized everything. We put things in boxes. We say it's art, it's science, it's mathematics, it's nature, and we have split 4 things, which is in my world 1. In where I come from, art, science, maths, and nature is 1. And I'm not saying it's bad to break things up to make them easier to consume. But the mistake we made is, after we've been in my opinion, after we've been educated in maths and science and art and nature, we have been conditioned, unfortunately, to maintain those things in 3 or 4 separate boxes. And I can add to those if there's more than that. And I think that's a pity. I think it's a very big pity, because they are not divorced from each other at all. They are so integrated that maths can never exist without nature and without science. And I can now mix my stories up as much as I can. None of those things are divorced from each other at all. They're actually so interdependent. But through our education, we have compartmentalize that. So I'll give you a bit of a background on that. And I'll give you a bit of the origin, and this might also help some artists. So I had dyslexia as a youngster, so I was dyslexic, and I had a problem with reading. I swapped around I's and U's and B, smaller, lowercase B's and B's, and P's and Q's, and you can call it all the variations. And that, of course, had a great impact on your self-confidence as a kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because in the class you can barely read. It's not that you're stupid, but you can't read. And now because of that, you're being slowly marginalized, categorized. Okay. But as life went on, I started managing that. So I was never a top grade student. I think I was more in school for the sport and the sports. So I never did a proper, like a university thing. But as life went on, I became a later student and more studying some managerial management courses and stuff like that. So apart from me being an apprentice and interested in the technical bit. But as life went on, I started meandering into lasers and laser systems, and it became laser physics, and I became part of teams which have names like the quantum team, and we started doing work for the pebble bed modular reactor and nuclear stuff. But I never had a degree of any sorts. But somehow I found I won't call it a right of existence, but a use in these groups. Maybe I was the joker in the pack or whatever. But it turned out eventually I co-authored some science papers with top scientists in South Africa. And I'm very thankful for those years that I had at the CSIR. The CSIR in South Africa is our National Research Center. And I was in a group called the National Laser Center. And I did a lot of very exciting work there. And the question is, in my core, I'm an artist. How does it work that an artist can contribute to the field of science, where there are, of course, other guys that are high in mathematics, in calculus, in programming, in all that? There is a place, in my opinion, and I'm not just saying based on my own experience, but there's a huge place for artists, or the influence of the artistic mind in science, in math, in that. And I come back to my first statement. As people categorized art, science, mathematics, and nature, they've also categorized people as an artist, and a scientist, and a technologist. And we must be careful, because I think there's a lot of cross pollination possible across the field. I would say mathematicians must go to art galleries, and I want to say artists must go to mathematician colloquium and listen to what these guys are talking about. Because it's amazing how the artist's mind works when they start to grasp a little bit of what people say, and they start to ask questions. And the reason I say that is, and this I must be careful, I must count my words. It's not that I was able to calculate certain answers. It was more, I could see it.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the answer. And if I see it, what I see, I believe. And in many cases, I think I followed things because I listened to the problem in the meeting, listened to things, and then I thought, but isn't this a way? And then you start asking questions. And remember something, if you are the only one in a group who hasn't got the doctor degree, you're allowed to ask silly questions. They can't afford it. You can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Because everybody is afraid to ask a stupid question. No one asks it, and the whole bus stops.
Well,
okay, putting things out there. So,
no, but it's like when I speak to musicians, I you
yes,
know I
yeah, but
ask these silly
yeah,
questions, but hey, I get nice answers back.
yes.
Yeah.
You see, if you're a top grade musician and you ask a silly question, and I ask you, where did you get your music degree in Vienna? You're gonna say like, you're not gonna ask the question because you did it in a top
Yeah.
grade university.
Yeah.
So you
No.
rather go. So I'm just using that, and that again with artists, true artists, they're not afraid to make mistakes.
Mm.
I'm not afraid to make mistakes because I fell on my face so many times. I'm so good at getting up that I'm not afraid to fall.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. Like I said to you before,
So
in
we can laugh
photography,
about it.
like I
It's
said to
not
you
nice
before,
to fall, but
yeah.
sorry.
No, but in photography, I'm like a cowboy, so I bend the rules very easily. So, yeah. No, but that's so true. And I mean, just recently I spoke to a neuroscientist who is also a composer and a conductor. And when I saw that, it was like, is this possible? And now that you're saying, so why isn't it possible? Because why do we uh, put these in categories?
That
Um,
that neurosurgeon knows how to maintain a balance
yeah,
because it's balancing. He cannot perform at that level if it's not for, and he knows it.
yeah. No,
It so yeah.
but
Sorry, you were saying?
no, but Johan, no, I absolutely love your work, and these stories around your work is so great. But tell me, and you have mentioned before what you aim and what you still want to do, but what are the wishes for you for the future?
I think my main aim is to have a situation where I can hear what the message is that the world needs to hear. And if an artist tried to structure his life to be in that position, then I think he can have a purpose in the sense that whatever he creates and bring into this world will influence the world, hopefully for the better. Because once the world has lost its imagination, it's a grey world. It's all grey. And I think the art, and if I look at the art that people create, look at it the way it make you think differently about things. I think a lot of fantastic things people created and patented and all that came from them being stimulated to rethink things and to create or rethink their formulas and to go better. So to answer that question, I would be happy if I can, as an old man, still get up in the morning, make my coffee, boil my 2 eggs, go sit, take a piece of clay, and just make something. And I'm too old to take it to the foundry, and I found the foundry and say, I can collect the next one. Simple as that. If I can be that man, I'm happy. Simple. I don't want fancy cars. I don't need fancy things. I've experienced so much in life, ranging from many things. I feel there's no other experiences that I still need. I just want to be a sculptor till I die, and I would like to, if it's allowed, to grow old. That's it.
Amazing. What a beautiful wish.
Simple.
Really. Yeah.
Simple.
Well, just that you mentioned the 2 eggs in the morning, I'm with you on that one. I
Yeah,
also
yeah, I had my 2 eggs and that's it, and coffee and that's it, and then I work.
and a coffee, yeah.
Sometimes I'm so, I wake up with such strong ideas that I boil the egg.
Yeah.
And then by 2 o'clock, I feel, ooh, I want lunch. And when I come up, I say, I never had my eggs. So, yeah, as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it,
No, it's the eggs. What a wonderful food that we
yes,
have is in the form of an egg. I just think it's
yeah,
perfect food, really.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
But
Just
Johan,
if I can
yeah.
mention something about the science also, there's something else I did which is also quite interesting. Is in 2015 it was the year of light, and we have a national science and technology forum in South Africa, and they wanted to change their trophy which they give to people to recognize them for work they did in science in South Africa. It's technically the Oscars for scientists in South Africa.
Really.
And then they approached the CSIR to ask if the CSIR can help, and then I was referred to, and then I designed a trophy. You can actually, if people want to Google, it's called NSTF Awards 2015. There's a little video that starts with the Bushman, and I also wrote the storyline for the movie. I didn't shoot the movie, but I wrote the storyline. And what we did, and it was the first in the world, there's now, as far as we know, we designed the trophy. It was a big feather, and the feather played on two things. It's light, it's played on the word light, and it's a feather in your cap. And we also we 3D printed that directly in titanium.
Wow.
Now, at the time, 3D printing in advanced materials was quite a new thing. And we were apparently the first in the world who printed a
Really?
batch of trophies in that scale. And it's a yearly thing. So every year they hand it out to between 14 and 17 people who is now picked in the country and awarded and being given a recognition for their work in science. And that's again just something I want to say is it's an artist, it's a sculptor, it's kind of a scientist, and it's a material because I did it myself. I ran the machines in the beginning, the first ones that we made. I was a technologist at the National Laser Center at the time. And it was so nice to be able to do your creative side in your
Yes.
science world, which I was very thankful. And that was quite a nice one. If I can, I always refer to nice ones, a nice project, and I still do it. Well, now every year I outsource everything, most of it. Some of the work I do here. I have a little workshop, lathes and milling machines. It's part of what sculptors must be able to do. But that I outsource the printing because those machines are just in the millions, not millions, tens and hundreds of millions of rands, massive fancy machine. But yeah, I'm just saying to add to science and art, I think we must try to breach those boxes. We must try to cross pollinate them. I really think so. I think if you think of the word university, that uni is a crossover. It is not you just go study your subject at university. That doesn't mean uni. Uni is everything must cross over. Yeah.
No,
So
that's
I would love to promote that through art. Promote it and
absolutely.
say, yeah.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think it's time that the education system gets reviewed and look at it in this way to give children the opportunity. And like you say, every child and through art, you have a voice through art, and everybody has their story. So yeah, but thank you so much, Johan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this was so great to talk to you and your input and your beautiful art. And well, I hope you can one day come and do an exhibition in Vienna. How about that?
Well, if you can point me in the right direction, I'll be there.
Yeah, that would be
I actually
great.
do have quite a following on in Vorarlberg in the other side of Austria. I've got people
Really?
who, yeah, but not on the eastern side.
Okay, so we have to fix that one.
Now, if you can point me in the right direction, I will
Yes,
gladly respond to that.
I'm
Thank you.
going to, because I would love to see your work here in Europe and
Please,
in an
please,
exhibition. Yeah.
please, I
And
will.
yeah. And if you come to Vienna, then we would definitely have to meet in person. That would be so great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks. Now I will.
Yeah.
Now I have a good reason to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Johan, have a lovely
Thank
day
you.
in the
Thank
beautiful
you,
South
Victor.
Africa.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks. The
Johan.
wine is here.
I'll come and visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.